Nice. Who would have thought that subsonic 10mm would have been a thing and something that actually cycled the KRISS Vector 10mm. That worked out great. Hey, thanks for tuning in to Twang and Bang. About, I think 6 weeks ago, maybe 7 weeks ago, I reviewed this KRISS Vector pistol with the stabilizing brace. It is in 45 ACP, but that didn't prevent a lot of you from asking me, when is the KRISS Vector in 10mm gonna hit the market? We knew it was coming. We could see it on the spec sheet on their website for the better part of this year. Well, the answer is right now. You can actually order the pistol with stabilizing brace in 10mm, with other variants I'm sure soon to follow. KRISS sent me this pre-production pistol in 10mm because I wanted to see how their Super V recoil system handled the snappy 10mm recoil. Coincidentally, Freedom Munitions also introduced a brand new 10mm product in addition to their Hush line of subsonic ammunition. Now, I don't think Freedom Munitions, and certainly I wouldn't tell you to buy a 10mm with the sole purpose of running subsonic suppressed through it. It's just not that kind of caliber. But if you already own a 10mm firearm and you already own a silencer, why not have some fun with it running subsonics? That's the idea, I think, behind the Freedom Munitions Hush 10mm. It also gave me a chance to broaden the range of loads that the Super V recoil system had to handle to prove itself as something appropriate for 10mm. And that is what's coming up next on Twang and Bang. As I mentioned, I very recently reviewed the 45 ACP Vector seen at the far side of the table here, so I'm going to focus mainly on the differences in the new 10mm variant. For starters, the buffer weight and spring are tuned specifically to common 10mm ammunition, with the Super V recoil system built to handle even the stoutest factory 10mm loads. The 8-inch barrel is available unthreaded or threaded in 9/16 by 24 for use with suppressors like the rugged obsidian you'll see in this video. Since the Vector is modular, I'll be shooting the 10mm both in the standard pistol form it came in, as well as with the stabilizing brace KRISS sent with the 45 ACP. No tools are needed to do this. I show the process in the review I've linked below, along with full field stripping. I also show the controls in full detail, as well as some of the issues you need to consider when shooting without a vertical foregrip. So be sure to watch that video to get my full opinion on the KRISS Vector in general. The 10mm takes standard Glock G20 magazines. For now, KRISS does not have an extension kit in 10mm, though some do modify the 45 ACP kit to work sort of with G20 mags. KRISS does not recommend it, and anyone who does so assumes all risk, but for this video, I thought I'd give the mods a try myself. I'll be shooting PPU and Freedom Munitions for this test, along with some Lehigh Defense Extreme Defense ammunition. Yes, you're looking at a 32-round 10mm mag. It is cobbled together with a G20 15-round 10mm mag and the KRISS 45 ACP mag extension kit. They don't really go together on the inside because the walls of a 10mm mag are fatter than those on a 45 mag. So there's kind of a lip all the way around halfway in this mag for the follower and the spring to catch on. Plus, you have to squeeze the Vector spring in a clamp to get it narrow enough to feed up into the factory Glock 10mm body. I did about an hour's worth of work and I got it to feed pretty well just using my thumb. Let's see if it works in live fire. Sweet! Yes! Oh, it worked. Now, the stuff I had to do to get this to work, I would not rely upon this mag to defend my life. But on the range, it worked. That's fantastic. KRISS, you need to get working on an extension. You will sell a ton of them. I never know what I'm going to be competing against at this range. Right now, some guys are warming up a chainsaw.
but I want to see if I could get the Hush ammunition to cycle this hodgepodge magazine all the way through. That was my fault. I actually had my hand on the bolt lock. That's an issue with the pistols that I've mentioned before. You got to keep your hands off of the controls. Okay, that was the mag. Yep. I'm not sure. Feels a little sticky right now. Okay, so the follower bound up just a little bit as it was making the transition from the fatter portion, the 45 caliber portion, to the 10 millimeter caliber portion. And that's what I'm saying. You know, it's gonna work okay on the range, but until they come out with a 10 millimeter bottom that works with a 10 millimeter tops, I wouldn't rely upon this system to defend your life. Still fun.
Just as with the 45 ACP Vector I previously reviewed, I prefer shooting the 10mm with the stabilizing brace in place used as a cheek weld. It makes finding the red dot just as fast as when shooting a carbine or SBR, and the recoil control of the Vector means I don't miss having a stock that much at all. Do take note of the insane ejection of the shells. The Vector kicks them out at a perfect 90 degrees, sending them into a neat pile 20 yards to my right.
That's fun. That's a lot of fun. Even though I much prefer the stabilizing brace, the Super V recoil system tames the 10 millimeter recoil enough that it's actually pretty easy shooting this as a pistol, a standard pistol. You just need to find the red dot. And once you do, it's really easy to follow it along the targets. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it takes a little bit more time finding the dot. But then once I find it, the recoil, you don't lose sight of the dot. The dot stays right in front of your eye the whole time I'm shooting. It's actually a really nice combination. That's fun.
So, why would you pick the 10mm over other calibers in the Vector? The cartridge has a very nice balance of kinetic energy on target and capacity in a magazine. For kicks, I'm shooting a Lehigh Defense non-expanding extreme defense load into calibrated FBI gel to show how the 10mm extra velocity helps the bullet perform like a hollow point.
Whoa.
You can see how each of the 4 edges in the Extreme Defense bullet cuts its own rip into the gel, with a very nice temporary stretch cavity developing from 5 to 9 inches into the block. A standard Glock mag gives you 15 rounds of this. An extended mag can give you up to 32 rounds, which is quite a bump over that of the 45 ACP.
Well, the back part of the block got damaged in transport, so I did a test with about a 3/4 block. It's not scientific to begin with, but it took chunks out of the gel, even just in the central wound channel. And then you can see the temporary stretch cavity right there. Pretty significant. I hit a little high, but it still looks like all the damage was contained in the gel block. And I could have had 2 of these gel blocks stacked end to end. It would have gone right through. That's why people want to use a 10mm right there. I've been a fan of 10mm my entire adult shooting life. The first firearm I ever bought for myself was a Glock G20 back in 1992, and I still have it. It's actually sitting up by my bed because both I and my wife happen to shoot it really well. If you're a fan of 10mm like I am, I think you're going to be a fan of the KRISS Vector in 10mm. 10mm recoil isn't exactly like huge. It's not 44 Magnum huge, but it is harsh. And the KRISS Vector just says whatever, because the Super V recoil system takes care of it. The 6-pound plus weight of the pistol takes care of it. You don't even know you're shooting 10 millimeter when you're behind the trigger on the KRISS Vector, but you still get all of the downrange performance of the 10 millimeter. If you want to learn more about the KRISS Vector and 10 millimeter, be sure to see my full written review. It's linked in the video description below, or you can see it at my website at TWANGnBANG.net. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook to see what I'm doing in between videos. You can see the links right here. And be sure to click right here to subscribe to see my next videos on bows, guns, and other cool stuff. I really appreciate you watching Twang and Bang, and I hope to see you next time. Are you coming for a visit now? You're YouTube's choice in Malinois. Nope. Off you go.